Thank you very much. You may be seated. Pastor Ago has been very accurate. He even told you about my Advil PM. There are no secrets. I told him I want to watch a K-pop movie or something. I didn't go to bed. But I knew what God had told me anyway. And I thought it was a bit odd when he said that to me when I was coming. But you need to thank God for a pastor who hears God. Maybe you want to just thank God for that. I really respect Pastor Agu and Pastor Shala. Pastor Agu took to me as soon as we met. Pastor Shala was a very gracious hostess, and I told Pastor Agu, I think I passed the interview when I came to Jesus' house. So Pastor Agu, I'm also here because I need you to do some things in October, so don't think this is free. So. But thank you so much. I love and respect you, your family, and your church. This is a wonderful church. I like the excellence, I like the order, I like the structure, I like the way everything works. I like the way you support your pastor. You need to give yourself a hand. And I kid you not, I mean, it doesn't happen through one man. He has a wonderful gift of putting square pegs in square holes. That's what I see you know. You just know it. I pray for that grace too. And I'm tapping into it today. I'm sowing into it right now. But also, when he puts the people there, they do like Bode and Kemi have done. So you want to give yourselves a hand, Jesus House, for being the wonderful house that you are. It's an honor to be here today, and it's a privilege, and I thank God and I thank the Holy Spirit, and I have 35 minutes and we're going to start now. So, when God spoke to me about coming here, he gave me a word immediately. So it must be because of you. Because I typically don't take a meeting when I'm in town, any town for holiday. I don't do it, or I'm doing something else. But God said to me, you are going to talk to the people of God about the strategies for taking their throne or taking Babylon. In one word, God wants us to talk about the strategies for accessing what belongs to you in this age and this time. Do you think it's a good thing to talk about? Okay, we have 35 minutes to do that. Let me tell you, it's going to go. I'm going to talk for roughly 35 minutes, and then we're going to pray. I'm so happy with you, Jesus House. You're a house of prayer. You're not just mumbling prayers. I was there. You really are praying. And I love that, the way you pray. So the choir will help me at about when I say come up. And we're going to just pray for like 5 minutes and end. Is that good? Good, thank you. So, in the book of Micah chapter 4 verses 1 to 2. Or you can say Isaiah chapter 2 verse 1 and 2. Technically, we're going to be working together today. It says, it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be exalted above the mountains and above the hills. And all nations shall flow unto it. One shall say to the other, let us go to the mountain of the house of the Lord, and let us go to the house of Jacob. For out of Jerusalem shall flow the law and the word of the Lord out of Zion. What it means, in essence, is that a time is coming when you and I, the Church of Christ, will possess superior solutions. That the world has no option but to ask us how we thrive and we flourish in a hostile environment. What it means is that our own marriages will work. And they wonder how. Don't you face the same problems we face? Our children will not shank, and they will wonder, how come your kids don't carry knives? Do you understand? How come things are working for you? It has been the intent of God from the beginning of time that his children should be the ones to influence the earth. He said in Genesis chapter 1 verse 26, let us create man in our own image and after our own likeness. Let them have dominion. But the dominion is not for themselves, for a reason. To take Eden, the microcosm, that perfect entity that God had created upon the earth, to replicate it all over the earth. And to make it happen, he gave them a power. He gave them a superpower. And the superpower was the blessing. In Genesis 1:28, it says, and God blessed them and said, be fruitful. You might think he was suggesting that they should be fruitful. You might think he was advising that they should be fruitful. But God was actually releasing a force into your life and to my life that will make a difference. That same word, be fruitful, is the same thing when he said, let there be light. In the Hebrew, it says, light be. Do you get what I'm saying? So it was with the same words that God released light into the universe, that he released you into blessing and fruitfulness. In one word, you have what it takes to have dominion. You have what it takes to be fruitful. You have what it takes to make a difference. So God packages children in this way. And they face a hostile world. And he cares about the earth. That is why he said, fill the earth and subdue it. What I am trying to make clear to you is that you have no option about Great Britain. You must make a difference. Do you get what I'm saying? You have no option. It's not something that, well, if I choose to do. Your existence depends. That is why God sent you to the world. That wherever you find yourself, you have dominion, you fill the earth, you subdue it. Today I don't have the time to break down filling the earth and subduing it. If I do, I will. God cares about nations. We said he cares about the earth. He cares about nations. Deuteronomy chapter 32 verse 8. He said, when the Lord Most High, Deuteronomy 32 8. I like the scriptures being up because sometimes the kind of scriptures I quote, this today is okay. Sometimes you think I'm making it up as I go along. So you need to actually see the scripture so you know, okay, she isn't lying, it's there. Deuteronomy 32 8. Thank you. When the Most High divided the inheritance to the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. Now in the NLT, do you have the NLT? I thank you for the KJV. I also like the NLT. There's something interesting in the NLT. New Living Translation, I think. Thank you. When the Most High, can you give technical a hand? They're moving with me. Thank you. We're preaching together. When the Most High assigned lands to the nations, when he divided up the human race, he established the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of his heavenly court. That means before he said, this is where Wales will be, this is where Croatia will be, this is where Yugoslavia will be, knowing that it will be divided again. He had already established the number of nations according to the personnel he had in his heavenly court to administer the nations. So every nation has an angel. Every nation has a character. Every nation has a DNA. When I say Germany, what do you think about? Nobody should say Heil Hitler. No, don't say that. What do you think about when I say Germany? Precision. That word precision. Efficiency, isn't it? Nobody say Bundes anything, you know, just but precision, efficiency. Everything is on point. When I say Italian, what do you think about? Italy. What? Fashion, actually design, and then you just la Dolce Vita, Bella, just taking your, you do not by mistake ask an Italian to deliver anything in August. You're wasting your time. But I don't think a German even realizes there's August, right? So when I say British, what do you think about? Stiff upper lip and Popeye. You know, but you get what I'm saying. Every nation has its own DNA. I like to think that when you say Nigeria, nobody tells me 419. I think of resourcefulness. It is resourcefulness. Sometimes it may be misdirected, but it's resourcefulness. It's the ability to thwart every law and make your way around. It's also a gift. So, so every nation has its own DNA. Because he cares about nations, and God cares about cities. Cities. In Ezekiel chapter 9 verse 1 to 6, I'm saying he cares about cities because I want you to understand that you are in this city for a reason. God cares. Ezekiel 9 1 to 6. Very dangerous scripture. That's why I want it up, so you see that. Then the Ezekiel 9 1. No, not NLT. This NLT is a very violent translation. I want a Micah. The KJV is quieter, you know. The way that started off, it sounded like an horror movie. A horror movie with violent. He cried also in mine ears with a loud voice, saying, cause them that have charge over the city to draw near. Even every man with what? So people have charge over the city. Do you think London is a city? Undoubtedly, that's a bad question. So verse 2 says, verse 2, and behold, 6 men, there were 6 men in charge of this particular city, Jerusalem, came from the way of the higher gate. And then he's describing the men and said, one was clothed with linen. What it means, he was very righteous. Linen means I'm clean. You cannot bribe me. You can't make me change my records. And he had a writer's income by his side. He was writing and keeping records, which means what we are doing in London in 2018, you might think nobody's watching you, but somebody is watching what you're doing and is marking what you're doing. And then verse 3, and the glory of the Lord was gone up from the cherub. Because of time, go to verse 4. You can read it at home. Verse 4, and the Lord said unto him, this man with the writer's ink on, wearing linen, another one had a destroying weapon. To the one who had a destroying weapon, he said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and do what? Set a mark. In the Hebrew, it means a towel, like a cross, on the mark of the foreheads of the men that do what? Sigh. And do what? Cry. For all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Are there abominations being done in this city today? We prayed about it this morning. So it's just the right word. God is accurate in what he said I should say. Verse 5. And the others is said, to the others is said in mine hearing, go ye after him through the city. So one man is marking those who are concerned, Pastor. Those who sigh, those who cry, who care about marriage, who want to see a change in education, who want to see a change in the systems and in the structure, who are worried about the crime rate. They are not doing anything yet. They are sighing and crying. They are hurt. There's compassion. Something inside them moves. They are not apathetic. They're not here just to make money. They're not just here to make their own way. They're not after just fame. They care about the environment within which they're operating. And God says, it matters to me that you care. Mark them. So this man goes forward marking, and behind him, another 5 are coming. And this 5, he said, smite. Don't let your eyes spare. Do not have pity. Verse 6. Slay utterly, old and young. Both maids and what? Now we have a problem. That doesn't really fit with our theology, but well, who was talking here? Who? Are you really sure? Did you come to church this morning? So God said, slay little children and women, but come not near any who has the mark. And begin where? That sanctuary, that would be church, isn't it? Okay. Then they began with the ancient men, which were before the house. I'll give you another scripture which we won't read. Malachi 3:16. And it says there that those who feared the Lord spoke often to one another. And the Lord heard and remembered it. And a book was opened for those who cared about what was going on in the UK. A book was opened. And God said, when the day of slaying starts, he said, I will choose them that day as my jewels, and I will spare them. Which means when the bombs begin to explode, and they are. You know, the horrible thing about when we do not take charge of our cities is that when the problem comes, it does not spare the innocent. But God says there's a way out. He says, if you sigh, if you cry, if you take a position, if you speak, if you are known to care about it, I will rescue you that day. Not only you, but your sons and your daughters. In fact, God said to warn you and say that there is a phenomenon coming very soon that will be known as the phenomenon of the righteous eunuchs. And I said, what? He said, Daniel. Daniel, we always forget that Daniel was a eunuch. You're wondering how? He served in the king's palace. What you will not do as an Eastern king is put a handsome, tall, strapping man, maybe someone like your pastor, to guard your harem. You don't do it. You make sure you take care of his ability to procreate. So that at least whatever kids the queens give birth to, they're yours. So when they said, such as those who have the ability to stand in the king's palace, and they brought Daniel, they did something to Daniel. Who was he put under? The prince of what? The prince of the eunuchs. So Daniel was put under the prince of the eunuchs because he also was one. Did you hear of Daniel's wife? His children? It's not as, it's just something we do not pay attention to and we do not think about, but that was the case. And Daniel was a very righteous person. But because in his generation, people did not sigh, they did not cry about what was going on in Jerusalem. The Bible says in Daniel chapter 1, which we're going to read, that the Lord gave Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, into the hands of Nebuchadnezzar. God gave up his people into the hands of Nebuchadnezzar. So, we see that we must be careful to care about what happens so that the next generation that we're concentrating on, do you understand what I'm saying? Have an environment within which they can operate, number one. They are not carried captive by the wiles of this world, number two. Number three, their ability to be generational is not cut short. Do you get what I'm saying? So we have loaded them with righteous values such that when they get to Babylon, they don't even defile themselves. But the devil has done something to them, which is they cannot procreate. So that is the end of the righteous generation. Why? Because their parents only concentrated on our own nuclear family. Me, my son, my wife. I'm making sure I get the best for my family, and I will teach them well. What happens in my borough does not concern me. God says, if you do not care about what goes in your borough, what goes on in your city, what goes on in your city will truncate the ability for that which you are investing all your life into to give birth. Am I speaking too deep? So we go to Daniel chapter 1, and we see what happens when we are in Babylon. What are we talking about here now? God has said that a time is coming when his mountain, we shall be established above the mountains and above the hills. But how? We keep talking about these things, talking about wealth transfer, and people are seriously waiting. They're sowing in church, and they're waiting for someone to knock on their door one day and say, oh, God just told me to bring you this 200,000 pounds. Did it happen to you last year? It happened. Let me see. You know, you've been sowing, and one day someone walks up to you and just said, the Lord said to tell you, I have seen your heart. Here is 50,000 pounds. Okay, I'm bidding too high, 5,000 pounds. Nobody. That means that is not the way God wants to do it, right? That is not our strategy for taking over. Let us look at Daniel quickly to see the pattern by which we enter into the mountain. First, I want to ask, what is a mountain? Do you know what a mountain is? A mountain is an elevated place, isn't it? A mountain is a platform. A mountain is where I'm standing on now, where everybody can see me. Anything I do wrong on this mountain now, you will see. You are in the valley right now, you may not see around this or what you do wrong, but you will see me. So a mountain is a place of elevation, which is why God prepares us before he sends us to the mountain. Because if promotion comes before preparation, humiliation will follow it. What a mountain does is amplifies who you are. If you're good, we see it. If you're bad, we see it. If you beat your wife and we did not notice in the valley, when you get to the mountain, though, it becomes a public matter. Do you understand? Nobody on the mountain has any private matters. Everything is public. Do you get? A mountain is a platform. A mountain, everything you do looks good on a mountain. Look, do you remember Michael Jackson? Michael Jackson, are you so holy you don't know Michael Jackson? So, he was a king of pop, isn't it? How many of us know moonwalk? Remember moonwalk? You understand? You are dating yourself, all those who know moonwalk. We now know you're old. Those who don't, moonwalk was a dance that Michael Jackson created, yes, isn't it? Except that he didn't create it. He didn't. He went to Harlem one day and he saw some men dancing. And he liked it and he said, why don't you teach me the dance? And he learned the dance and came onto the mountain and danced. And you saw him dancing and you said, Michael created the moonwalk. No, it was someone in the valley. The problem with being in the valley is nobody sees what you are doing. But when you're on the mountain, everything you do is seen by the world. God is taking you to that mountain. Amen. You have ideas, but you need a mountain. You know what to say, but you need a mountain. You know how it is that you see people who are really important, when they speak, you are like, you get what I'm saying? But still, you clap very politely. Reminds me of Godfather. You know Godfather? You know the way Don Corleone speaks. He doesn't even shout. You need to really lean in to hear him for your own good. So rich people don't shout. They just see everything and they sound like aphorisms and metaphors. But they say nonsense, really. But you know, that was deep. What did he say? Profound. It means it was so dense, I don't understand. Anyway, so Daniel is in Babylon. Daniel chapter 1. And he knows that he's in Babylon for a reason. This young man has gotten over, or put in perspective, what he has gone through. And he realizes nothing happens without a reason. I'm now here. I'm not going to blame God and say, talk about what circumstances brought me here. I am going to make a difference. He had an agenda. Nebuchadnezzar had an agenda. They both had agendas. Nebuchadnezzar's own agenda was not just to conquer Judah. He wanted to make sure the entire world worshipped his gods. And Daniel too had an agenda. Insignificant pipsqueak. But he wanted to make sure too that this Babylon comes to his knees. I mean, look at that. It's beyond David and Goliath. Where does Daniel start? Just like you probably feel when I say you are here to dominate. And you're on this earth to dominate is what I'm saying. You are in this city to dominate. You are here to make a difference. And you're thinking, does she even know where I work? I'm flipping burgers and she's saying I'm here to dominate. I'm believing God that I'll get a job and she's saying I'm here to dominate. Your case could not have been worse than Daniel's case. Daniel was a slave. Do you get what I'm saying? No, you're not a slave. At least nobody owns you. You own yourself. Good. So Daniel was a slave, and it was said in Daniel chapter 1. Let's go quickly to verse 3. Let us know that in every society and every system, there are people called gatekeepers. Ashpenaz, in verse 3, was a gatekeeper. And the king spoke unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, of the king's seed, and of the princes, children in whom there was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in wisdom, cunning in knowledge, understanding science, such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the language and learning and tongue of the Chaldeans. Good. So we see a gatekeeper, Ashpenaz. It could be a headhunter in your own case that you apply, to for a job. But there are people who give you access to the corridors of power. And Ashpenaz was one of them. Whoever he chose, he chose. Your college coach is a gatekeeper. If he says you are good in rugby, you are. If you are not, if he doesn't choose you, you are not. Are you getting the idea now? Your supervisor may be a gatekeeper. Do you get it now? So Ashpenaz was a gatekeeper. And he was given specific instructions as to the... I'm doing so well for time. I'm shocked myself. So he was given specific instructions as to who to bring. Can we go down the list together? Can we make this interactive? First he said, children from the king's seed, which means give me somebody with pedigree. Don't bring me any riffraff from Israel. I want princes. Up till now, Tetla exists because we care what your name is. Society cares. Do you get what I'm saying? We want to know, are you a Windsor? Are you not? Are you a Kennedy? Are you not a Kennedy in America? You get what I'm saying? I don't know what it is in Zimbabwe. You tell me from Zimbabwe. But who are you? Every society has it. They have an elite. Even if they say they're communists. Look, the Castros are richer than anybody else in Cuba. And the party members in China are richer than the non-party members. Do you get it? Forget that's even amongst communists. We want the elite to rule. Get me some of the elite. 2, they must have no blemish. I want them handsome when they're coming. Has it changed? Even on the rugby pitch and the football pitch, you might say, well, they're skillful in football, but okay, why do they have dreadlocks? Why does everybody take care of their looks so much? Because you care what they look like. We listen to actresses, not because they have a solution to world peace, but because they're beautiful. Seriously, and we let them talk to us. Celebrity appearances, why? Because you have a fine face. But that's it, it's down to that. You are fine in form and in figure. When you wear something, we want to wear it too, regardless of our size and your size. I wasn't even trying to be funny, but you get what I'm saying. They set the pace for our world with what credentials? Aesthetic credentials. You know it's shallow, but it's true. Look, it's been proven. You want to be president of America, you better be above 5'6". That is so wrong and discriminatory, and it's true. That it is most likely that if you are tall, you'll be voted for. People see you as more capable. This is not to run down the vertically challenged people in the room. I love you, you know what I'm saying? Because we're going to look at some other keys with which we can circumvent all these things that are stacked against us, just in case you are not looking above average and then you're vertically challenged and maybe you're not a Windsor or a Tudor. You know what I'm saying? There's still hope. Tell your neighbor there's hope. She will get to it. There's hope. It's just I want to get the bad news out of the way so we can get to the good news. Okay, so they must be well favored. They must be clever. You must be smart. If you don't have all that, they're saying at least be a nerd. Be smart. And those who are able to stand in the king's palace. So they look for this kind of people. And we still look for those kind of people today, and we hand access to them without thinking. What if we don't have these credentials? And God has said that the time is coming when we will rule the mountains. How do we get there? We will get there the same way Daniel got there. He was chosen to do what? To learn the language and the literature, or the tongue and the language of the Chaldeans. There is a difference. I'm more comfortable here. There's a difference between language and literature. Language is being able to communicate and speak. Literature is understanding the ideology and the philosophy of the people. Did you get that? You cannot penetrate someone's culture. In your office has a language and a literature. Do you get? Your organization within which you operate. This is not just about politics, it's about your career advancement. There is a language they speak, there is a way they dress. You can't come to work wearing a white cream suit, because if there's a cream suit, there's nothing wrong, there's no dress code. Everybody else is dressed in gray and black. Get with the program. And you say, I need to express my individuality. Not here. But a lot of us do it. And then when something goes wrong, I say, is it because I'm black? No, it's because your brain is dark. You should know. Are you getting it? So the language and the literature is to know, for instance, in England about King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. If I talk about Guinevere, you should know who she is. If I talk about Stonehenge, you should wonder along with me why it is there. Did you hear that? You should wonder along with me why it is there. I have a slide that I cannot show. But it shows that in every society, the society has a structure in the metaphysical. Forget whatever the structure is. Forget the society. It has a basis on the metaphysical. There are things that are going on behind the scenes that you do not understand. That is why some prime ministers' wives consult New Age people. And you're thinking, well, everywhere is so anglicized. I know, but there is a power behind every throne. God is saying that there are pillars to society, and each one of us must know where we belong and seize it. We have media, don't we? It's a pillar. Take it or leave it. Whatever the media tells you, it takes you a long time to reprogram your mind and say it is not so. We have business. Now the devil is very happy with you Christians gathering in church on Sunday. Please just don't be rich. Don't be rich. Because once you are rich, you have power. He doesn't like, you can do and undo. Wealth gives you options, right? When you're rich, you can decide to travel today or not. When you're not, you buy a ticket in January for December and you're locked into the date. Am I saying real things? Nobody falls ill in your house, you're all going for that holiday. No date change, nothing. You have no what? Options. That is what wealth does. We are talking about culture. The culture of a people affects the strength of the society. Family is one of the pillars of society and is under such onslaught. The very definition of what marriage means is being attacked. Education is yet another. So while you're saying, I don't want to be a teacher, they don't pay them well. Others have taken charge of your children and they're teaching them anything they want to. Do you see what I'm saying? We need to go into these are our strategies for accessing. We need to go to every area of society. Government is yet another. Government. So either through political power, through policy making, whichever way, government. The devil is very happy for you to gather in church on Sunday, so that on Monday he just overturns everything you prayed about. And say, there, I'm in the war room. I agree. Just go ahead and make things happen on the Monday. Are you listening to me? Is there somebody with me on this? Am I right? Is it the way it operates? So choose which part. Which one are you going to hold on to for God? Science is yet another. I find science interesting. You know why? Because we all trust science, but we're being scammed. Who watched on Netflix something called What the Health? You watch What the Health? Your hand up. Thank you. Well, people don't like admitting what they watch here. And I said, I want to watch a movie. Take an Advil PM and sleep. I need to come and cast out the spirit of lying and put some transparency. You watch What the Health. How long did it take you to figure out that was a vegan agenda? Because in the first 1 minute, you shouldn't eat eggs. I was flowing with it. Okay, Then they went to beef. This is where they started from. I said, beef, who eats beef? We don't eat beef. And then they said chicken. I'm like, tread carefully with that chicken. And then they said fish. I'm like, fish. Then it was eggs. And the argument for not eating beef is that if you eat beef, the cows have eaten grass that is tainted with pollution. So the solution is leave the cows out, eat the grass yourself. It didn't take long. This is a vegan agenda. So science is basically telling you now whatever they are paid to tell you. There is no kind of research you cannot get if you pay the correct price to get that research. Do you get it now? So while you are running away from education, from science, from everything else, others are going there with a manifesto in mind, with a clear agenda, and they're pursuing it. So they go to Hollywood and they're sending a message to your kids. They told the MTV guy that, well, I hear that teenagers really like you. And he goes, really like me? I own them. And what is your own answer to MTV? Bible man. Some Christian cartoons are so scary. What? It's the truth. The guy is wearing a costume, the spandex is split. You are like, the kids are not buying this, the youth are not buying this. They want the same level of excellence that they find everywhere in Christianity. They're not going to listen to music because he said it's Christian music. We have to call it Christian music because we have to apologize for it, Pastor Ako. So when I became a Christian, they told me you can't sing the music you used to sing before. Now, those of us who are around the same age, you know, you understand. Remember, baby, here I am. You're on a dynasty. I just want to make you understand. I mean, there were songs. And they said it's no longer acceptable. The kind of songs that your mind is sanctified, but your feet are not. So when the radio is playing it, you know, your leg is moving like, come on, we're born again. You know? What is going on? We're born again. And what did they give me instead of dynasty and Shalama? Friends. Da, 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 da. I've got friends. Said I should listen to Mary McKee and Genesis. My songbird longs for freedom. Like, this is going to be a long journey. Now I know why they say that the road is narrow. It has to be narrow. But I'm still here after all these years, so let's thank God for it. But what I'm saying is that the youth are not having none of that. They are not. They're just going straight for what they like. They're not apologizing, and we need to give this generation what this generation demands. Excellence must come out of the church, that without apology supersedes that which the world has to offer. And that is how, through our superior solutions, that we begin to take over. We all know the story that when the king had a dream, he didn't know the interpretation of the dream. Perhaps he remembered, but this time he wanted to test the wise men. So he said, I'm not even telling you my dream. Because when I tell you, you come and just, put 2 and 2 and get 5. You will tell me the dream, you tell me what it is. I'm letting you know that the kings of this earth, in your institutions, in your offices, in your corporations, in your governments, are beginning to have the dreams that they cannot decode. You understand what I'm saying? They have visions that they don't know how to make to come to pass. Just as Pharaoh had a dream in the time of Joseph, and he saw some skinny cows, some fat cows swallowing each other. He didn't know what to do. He needed help. The world is crying out for help. We don't know what to do about terrorism. We don't know what to do about religious intolerance. We don't know what to do about so many things. The kings are having dreams and they have no solution. What do you think the solution is? It's called strategy. And Joseph came with a strategy. Daniel came with a strategy. He told the king, he said, this is what you would do. King, you saw a golden statue, and the statue was this and that. He began to decode to the king what the king saw, and the king was dumbfounded. When you read the book of Daniel, he fell down. And not only did he submit that the God of Daniel was God, which was Daniel's agenda, he said incense and sweet oblations should be offered unto Daniel. In what word? He worshipped Daniel. That's just what he did. The time is coming when the world will bow to our superior solutions. When you locate where your area of operation is, when you stop being a jack of all trades, when you specialize, when you are confident to stay in the place of your calling as a teacher, as a scientist, as a philosopher. I know some people don't want to study philosophy, but there is the philosophers who tell us what is okay to do in marriage, what is okay. The ideology by which we run our world comes out from the professors of philosophy. That very curse you said you were not studying, because you had to study law. Do you see what I'm saying? So Daniel got to that point that he brought the king to his knees before his God. And beyond that, every single government came and went. 4 kings. Daniel remained in power. He was not elected. He never canvassed for one vote. The king struggled and got elected. Daniel stood as the power behind the throne. He did not go to war when the kings of the Medes and the Persians went to war to take over territories. Daniel stood behind the throne for 4 kings, ruled over a province, 127 countries, from India to Iraq. Are you getting it now? So if there was a referendum on types of marriage, I'm being very politically correct here, really behaving myself, I hope I'm trying, on types of marriage, he was there to have a say. If there was something to say about the educational curriculum, he was there to have a say. Nobody even knew that there was someone secretly there deciding what was going on in 127 provinces, an area bigger than the United States of America today. Can this still happen in our generation? Can it still happen in our generation? So that's what God has called us to. Can we rise? I have 32 seconds left. You can rise. We're going to pray, because this is where we're going to conclude. And the prayer is very simple. John chapter 17 verse 5 says, Father, glorify me with the glory I had with you from the foundation of the earth. And the person saying this is Christ. And at this time, Pastor Bajo is 130 years old, and he has really done well for himself. He's raised the dead. He's healed the sick. There is no type of miracle a prophet has done this man has not done. Then he's now saying, glorify me. What is left to glorify? Something is beating in your heart right now, telling you there's more to you than this. They sold you the British dream, and you have done it since you were young. You've taken all the right steps, and you're doing well. But something tells you there's more to you than this. What is calling on you is who you are meant to be from the foundation of the earth. Look, Moses was 80, and at 80 he had not begun to live his life. He had been a prince, he had come out of the palace, yet nobody had really seen Moses. Do you see? Hannah was happily married in quote, but there was one thing that she was meant to birth, she had not birthed: Samuel. Until you sit on your throne, until you become the man God has created you to be, even at 120, life has not yet started, and it's never too late. Do you get it? You are saying to God, there's a throne I am meant to sit on. I am meant to be remembered for something. Some people are born mere men. Then they move on and they get a message from God. That message becomes a mission for them. That mission becomes a movement. Do you get it? At that point, you take the man and you kill him to get rid of him, but he has become an ideology. And when you kill him, you only make him stronger. And I'm talking about things that happened in our century where we were born. Men like Mohandas Gandhi. He was born, some woman put a diaper on him if they could afford diapers. But when he died, he was a movement. The movement was so strong that Martin Luther King copied the movement. Are you there? So you see, you don't have to die just like this. You could be remembered in the history books. The generation to come, I read about you. I don't know about you, but that's what I think we were all called to be. John 17:5. You are going to say, Father, glorify me with the glory I had with you from the foundation of the earth. I just want you to pray to God. That means the real me, I want it to become unveiled. The real me, I want it to become unveiled. I want people to see who I am, who I was meant to be from the foundation of the world. I want the choir to give us, we will rise in your name. And I will tell you why I took that song. It's a prayer. 1 second. It's a prayer. As you're singing, you are saying, Father, I am going to my place of authority and I'm going to my throne, but in your name. I want you to understand that everybody on the throne, Prime Minister, whatever, you are there for someone. If you don't have an agenda before you come to power, you will be given one when you get there. Do you understand? So when you see the rapid rise of anybody in the earth, always ask yourself, who is he for? Because it's either for God or not for God. God and the devil use human beings. That's what it is. You understand? And the devil is too wise to make sure that everything someone does in power is so evil that you know he's an antichrist. No, it's going to be a smorgasbord. Some good things, some bad things. A teaspoon of sugar makes the medicine go down. But I want you to ask God today, glorify me. People think I'm successful. But there is more to me than meets the eye. I will not rest until you make me the woman I was meant to be. Until I become that voice I'm meant to be. Until I occupy that platform I'm meant to occupy. In your name, Adonai, you reign on high. We will rise in your name, Adonai, you reign on high. Well, Santali and Alabacasa, Rekandani Makura Pandale Hataya, Nerina Mandola Soto Makura, Yerikandale, Malandela Soto. Lord, let me take my place. Nerikantole Barone Basaka, Mekaria Dalababa Tole Barune Babasaka, Ikara Baba, Nerikantole Basata, you reign on.
We bless you, God. Remaki andoroboste. Borobojuka karianda brokosto. Mandorobobo korianda karianda brokosto. We bless you, God. Zeki andorobojokoraye. Zekinko porobojaka karianda brokosto. Mandorobosuka karianda brokosto. We bless you, God. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. You know, I